Welcome back to College Conversations. I'm Dr. Janice Fedor. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to send a professional email. First, I'm going to talk to you about why that's important, and then I'm going to give you 6 tips on how to make the most out of your emails. First of all, why it matters. Why does it matter sending a professional email? Well, first of all, the sheer volume of emails that we send and receive every day. In a lot of cases, this becomes your primary communication with someone. So it really gives them a sense of who you are, and you want to make sure that you're putting forth a best representation of yourself. Sending effective emails is really an integral part of business communication. So it's not something that's a one-off, a once-in-a-while thing that we can say, oh, well, I'll be good at that, once in a while or whatever. This is an everyday skill, and you need to get really good at it if you want to move ahead in your career. Emails become how someone perceives you, and you get a certain style or a certain sense of a person by reading their emails. And after a few emails with someone back and forth, you're like, oh, well, that's typical of them, or that's how they normally, talk in the email, or, that's about the time that I would receive something back from them. So there's a certain pattern to that. Whether or not we realize it, we develop a certain pattern with people who we email with on a regular basis. Remember that emails are a permanent record of communication. So everything is there for the person to go back to. So they can go back to prior emails and, look at your spelling or your tone or your style. And all these things create a lasting impression on the person who you're communicating with. So it's important that you're very intentional in how you send your emails. The last reason why it's important to pay so much attention to emails is because you want to represent your best self for you as an individual, but then also for whatever organization you're working for, you're representing the organization when you send emails out from a company name, an organization name, and that company name is right underneath your name in your signature line. So really you're representing the company as well. So the first tip on how to send effective emails is remembering to reply to your emails. So think about this for a minute. Everybody has so many, emails back and forth. We have multiple email accounts. And so it becomes a juggling exercise to, okay, I have to get through that set of emails. I have to get through that set of emails. And so it becomes important to factor in time to respond. Professionally, you really should respond to emails within 72 hours. I would make it your personal goal to respond to emails within 24 hours, especially if you care about the perception people have of you, you're trying to get a job, trying to keep a job. I would say 72 hours is the absolute maximum. I would say look at that closer to 24 hours. Responding to people when they send you an email. And if you don't know the answer or don't have an answer, still respond and say, I don't know yet, but I'll get back to you when I do. Or I'm still checking into this. I'll get back to you when I have an answer, or something like that. Don't just not respond. That's the worst. That makes the sender feel like first of all, maybe they didn't receive the email, which nowadays is probably not the case. It also could make them feel like you read the email and you didn't care enough to respond. Meanwhile, you care very much. You just don't have the answer yet. Well, it's important to take that extra step and reply and say, hi, I've received your email. I'm still waiting back from, and a lot of times you're waiting back to hear from somebody else or something else to transpire before you can get back with a meaningful answer. But say that, communicate that. I'm waiting to hear back, from the caterer or whatever you're waiting to hear back from. Don't just say nothing. Okay, so that's very important. The second tip I have is use a clear subject line. Something like advising appointment, or changing my class, or is there class tonight, or something if it looks like inclement weather. But use a meaningful subject line, not just an emoji or something, funny or cute, or something that means something to you, but not to the receiver. You want your email to be opened up and to be read. Busy people prioritize reading their emails a lot of times by looking at the subject line. And if it doesn't seem that important, they're going to go on to the next email, get through those first, and then maybe come back to yours, or maybe not. So you want to make sure that you have a clear and concise subject line, something that's eye-catching, and that includes something about the question. The third tip I have is use professional salutations, please. So, dear Professor, or dear Dr. Smith, think about using those salutations. Like I mentioned in my earlier video, yo, Professor, you don't want to say yo anybody unless you're emailing a friend. Or hey, you guys, or hey, Professor, it seems cute and something that they would do in a movie, but please don't do that. That it's not really going to, react favorably. It's not really going to make you look any more favorably. The next tip I have for you is please proofread your entire email before sending. You will be judged by typos, by mistakes, words that are misspelled. You will be judged by that, unfortunately. And remember how an email is a permanent record. So please take the time to proofread the whole email before hitting send. You don't want to lose opportunities because of that, because of something that you could have prevented. So take the extra 5 minutes, reread your whole email. A lot of times you'll find out, oh, that's not what I meant. I meant Wednesday instead of Thursday, or whatever. It'll save you time on the back end having to send another email to say, oh, I put the wrong day or whatever. Oops, sorry. Spend the time at the front end proofreading that. Make sure it's everything that you want to say, and that especially dates, times are correct. Everybody's busy now. Everybody's rushing, but you want to take the extra time on those details. You don't want to lose opportunities because of those errors or mistakes. Another tip is to not hit reply all unless you really mean reply all. We've all heard some horror stories about somebody who meant to, reply to one person, but then they accidentally hit reply all, and then no, feelings were hurt and things were, misconstrued and so forth. And just remember, really nothing is confidential on email, because even if you hit reply to the one person, they can easily forward it to everyone, in a matter of seconds. So really nothing is confidential. This should be very above board, professional. You don't want to say anything hurtful or anything like that in your email. And lastly, don't email when you're angry. I know it sounds like a good idea, but you really don't want that to be your tone, because I feel like some people will say, well, put it in your draft and don't hit send. Yeah, but what if you hit send accidentally? And there you go. So don't email when you're angry. Write it down. Write down what you want to say if you're angry. And then the next day, put that in an email. And then if you're still okay with that, then hit send. And don't use all caps, because it's like you're screaming at somebody and you don't want to do that. Scream at them in person. No, just kidding. So that would be, that would fall into the heading of things not to do when you're angry. Don't sit down and dash off an email. Spending time on your emails really matters, because that's how people perceive you in the business world, and especially if you're just starting out and people don't know you yet as a person. All they have to go on is your emails. That's all they have to go on. And they'll look back at your last 5 or 10 emails and be like, wow, it seems like they're really angry all the time, or seems like they're snippy or not professional, or geez, they can't even spell perceive, or they can't, spell some word they think you should know how to spell. So Don't use humor unless you know the person really well. So I would use humor sparingly in that until you know the person, then you're going to be back and forth well, and you know that that's going to be okay. The big takeaway, not to hit reply all unless you really mean reply all. Proofread your emails, and make sure that you have a clear subject line. So if you follow that, you should be well. Thanks for watching. Please remember to hit share if you found this helpful, and hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment or question below so that I can continue to bringing you these helpful videos, of course. And remember to keep learning. See you next time.